and welcome to a fresh chapter of the Turing Boundaryless Series. I'm your host today. I'm Fernanda, and I am Senior Manager, Developer Success at Turing. I would like everyone to put their hands together for a very special guest that we have here today who has joined me. Yvonne is also a Senior Manager, but for Customer Success at Turing. And previously, and please Yvonne, correct me if I'm wrong, he was heading inbound sales at another e-commerce startup. Is that correct?
Yeah. You got
Awesome.
pretty close there, actually. Cool.
Awesome. Today we will learn more about his journey, and most importantly, we'll get some insights into how Turing goes about maintaining relationships with customers. So hi, Yvonne. Thank you for being here with me. How are you today?
I thank you for having me. Feeling pretty good. Looking forward to this chat. So yeah.
Awesome. So, Yvonne, before we begin, I'd love to hear more about your exciting career journey. So, you have led customer success teams before in your career, right? Could you tell us a bit more about your journey, how you reached here?
Oh, sure. I mean, basically, I started working in tech support while I was in college, and after, like, when I finished college, I joined one of the first startups that were venture funded here in Croatia. There, as you usually do in a startup, I worked on a little bit of everything, but a huge part of it was support and account management. And back then, so that was a while ago, customer success actually didn't exist as a term. So I was doing customer success, but it wasn't called that. After that experience, it was for a few years after that, I joined again in Croatia. It was the first unicorn company. And there I had like this concrete goal of being an account manager, but I was just there for around 6 months. It something didn't like it. I didn't feel right, and something was missing. So, browsing through social media, I saw a post that was talking about an internship opportunity, and it started with, "Would you like to work from a cafe in Vienna, a cafe in San Francisco, or anywhere in the world?" Basically that was it for me. I was like, yeah, that's it. That's what I want to do. I don't have a clue what it means, but that's what I want to do. So I dropped the full-time job. I took the internship. It lasted for I think 5 months. And after that, I started working for a company that brought C-level executives to San Francisco, to the Silicon Valley for meetups, workshops, and all that stuff. And basically it was always remote. So basically it was super fast paced. It was fun. I was doing like a lot of stuff from AdWords to sales pitches, presentations, logistics. There was all of it. And since I was working alongside the founder to kind of provide a stellar experience, customer success was always at the forefront of what we were doing. So there wasn't actually a team there, but it was really, really fun, fast paced, and intense. So a lot of learning. And as an added bonus, I got to interact with a lot of people in the Silicon Valley, get into the mindset, read a lot of books, learn a lot of new things. And one thing that kind of stuck with me was like working remotely. So nothing else kind of did it for me after that. So my next role had just one main condition, whatever it is, I want to work from home. I don't want to work in an office. And that happened, and that brings us to like the last position before actually joining Turing. So it was a small e-commerce, I would say a startup, and I started working in sales. And then from there, it kind of spun off into scaling the company. We went from like 5 people working all the time to it was something 40-ish something employees in a year. And I was leading the sales slash customer success team, growing the revenue, hiring people, all of that. And the pinnacle of that was a successful Series A funding round. And that was about the time where I kind of, because it was really intense, I kind of took some time off. So for a few months, I did like, it was a small sabbatical. And then after that, like the next opportunity was joining Turing and like showing up here. Yeah. So that kind of gives
Wow.
you the rundown. Yeah.
That's awesome that you have previous experience with startups or companies at initial stages. Are you like more attracted to that? Like, does that bring you excitement when the company is in the very initial stages?
Yeah, so one of the things that I really, really enjoy doing is actually building out all of the processes and how to set up everything for scaling for success and all of those things, like achieving those ambitions. So yeah, I really enjoy coming in at that point in time and kind of helping build that out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel the same way, and it's been great to like be at Turing for the past 2 years and see that exponential growth and participate in it directly. So it's
Yeah.
I see, and also with you there on the remote work thing. I don't see myself getting back to an office anytime soon in the future. I mean, I think once you try remote work, it's a life changer. You can't go back to.
Yeah. Oh, definitely agree on that.
Yeah. Okay. What about now? We're here Turing. Let's talk Turing. What about the customer success manager role at Turing? How would you describe this role?
Yeah, so as I said, like the big part of that I enjoy is building out the processes, and that's what we're doing here. So helping our developers be successful in their interviews, gathering data points and insights into what success means, both for because it's different. So we have like a couple of different places where we look for that, but both for developers and clients. And then another part of it, like a big part of it, is providing support and help to all the other members of the team and understanding what's necessary to kind of scale what we're doing and be able to, as we're scaling, handling more and more tasks, that we're able to provide like a really good experience that will keep up with all the growth that we're seeing. So that's really important. And I think that kind of covers, for the most part. There's as always in any role, you always have some stuff on the side, but this is what covers the main things that I'm doing here.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Cool. And so, just to summarize, what would you say? What would you say are the top or best characteristics or traits for somebody who should fit into the role of customer success manager almost perfectly?
I would say, like, so for anything related to customer success, I'd say that when you're building a team, when you're working in customer success, that a lot of empathy and like an emotional intelligence needs to be involved, because you need to optimize everything and then build an environment where like not just the clients feel welcome and appreciated, but also the people that are doing the job can thrive in that environment. So that, like, at the core of it, I feel like it's just empathy, understanding what needs to be done, what success means, and then just kind of building off of that. That would be my
Yeah,
idea
I,
of it.
I, I, I mean, as senior manager for Dev Success, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's even more important when it comes to a global distributed team with lots of diversity, like people coming from absolutely all parts of the world. And when I say absolutely, like, I'm not exaggerating, because if you think of our developers, they come from over 90 different countries. That's a lot of
Yeah.
countries. And so people have completely different mindsets, sometimes backgrounds, and that empathetic approach is sort of essential to achieve success. I couldn't agree more. Yep. Makes a ton of sense. And going a bit deeper on that, so far we have learned about your role as customer success manager. But if you talk about processes, because you mentioned processes a couple of times so far, how would you say that your customer success team works overall?
Yeah. So I would say like the first step in it was kind of figuring out the goal. So the term that's used often is the North Star metric. So what you're aiming for, what you want to achieve with anything that you're doing. And that will be that first step. And once you have that idea, so once you have something that you're hyper focused on doing, you build out a sustainable, scalable process that supports achieving that goal. So if you have a team of people, you build out processes that advise them on how to do something, what they need to do, action steps, points of contact, resources, everything around that. And then while you're doing this, you always iterate. So you have a process in place, but you always observe, like you see if there's something that can be adjusted, something that can be fixed, and you kind of fine tune it to get to a place that it gives the best results without kind of creating any friction or any issues with both the people that are doing it and then the clients and everybody else that's involved in the process.
Yeah, yeah. And I think at Turing, we're in a very good place. We have a leadership that gives us a very clear North Star. And when we have those company level OKRs well established, I guess, because at this point, Turing has grown a lot. We have this very complex org chart, many teams. There's lots of like cross-functional collaboration. I mean, my team and your team, for example, there are instances in where we work together, we collaborate. So having all those metrics well established is kind of very important, I would say crucial.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. And you have risen through the roles in customer success over these years, like coming back to your background as that you were guiding us through before. Among those experiences you've had, have you had any recurring signs that act as deciding factors in retaining customers? What about making sure that these customers, they have good levels of retention and engagement?
I mean, it's always like you always want to retain a customer. It's always a lot easier to work with somebody that you already work with. So to retain them, like first you want a clear understanding of what they want to achieve. So like what's their, let's say they don't call it that, but like what's their North Star metric? What's their ultimate goal with working with you? And then you try to work towards their goals with your tools and resources, trying to make them successful. So the simplest example that doesn't kind of tie into Turing, but it's easiest to explain, you have a web shop and you know what the goal is. The goal is for somebody to come in to buy your product and you need, so let's say you need quick processing, you need order tracking, you need to be responsive. And last thing, you need to be willing to resolve issues that can occur in the process. And that's it. I mean, there's a lot more, but if you do these things really well, and there's like a million web shops that are doing the same thing, but if you're doing these things better, you're going to stand out. You're going to have a client, and that client is going to be, regardless if you don't stand out with pricing or whatever, they're going to come back to you because of all these elements. They are really important because then you kind of show the understanding for what they're trying to do, and you just translate that simple. I would say that simple approach to anything that you're doing, and that's the way you retain customers.
Yeah, agree. And I think like having those strategies and metrics to stand out, especially in the kind of market we live, we have some competitors, right? Not many direct competitors, but we have many direct competitors. As some people ask me quite often, hey, what's the difference between Turing and any other remote work platform out there? And I'm glad I can list down many key reasons why Turing is different or even better. And I guess that goes the same way with both customers and developers, right?
Yeah, that definitely that's the approach you have, and that's like when you have something that sets you apart. However, it doesn't have to be really big, but if it shows that you understand what they're trying to achieve, that's going to make all the difference.
Yeah, I am. And when it comes to this, still talking about this customer engagement and retention thing, when it comes to the kind of help and support that is provided to customers, in your role as a senior customer success manager, how do you ensure that the right kind of support is provided to customers, which will enable them to get the most out of our product and service?
I mean, it all kind of goes back, and I mentioned it, like having so first of all, having the right documentation, having the idea of what needs to be done in which situation, and then it's just providing those resources to the people that are actually interacting with the clients, making sure that one thing that nobody likes when you're interacting with somebody and then they give you either like a vague answer or they give you an answer that you know that's not correct. And that's something that you want to immediately avoid. And the easiest way to avoid it is to just have all the clear information documented, a clear understanding of what needs to be done, good training. And then from that, if everybody has the tools and everything that they're supported during that part, it all comes together. You get timely, accurate responses. And even if there's frustration at any point, it gets mitigated and you have like ways to deal with it. So that's the approach that we're kind of taking and working with here.
Okay, so still talking about the way we build relationships with customers, customer success processes. You've been talking a lot about being very process oriented, very data driven, of course. And in terms of having feedback, right? Because I mean, having all those processes in place is, of course, an essential part of everything, but making sure that the one way to make sure we are doing the right thing is having great feedback from the customer? How do you make sure this feedback is in place? How do you collect this feedback?
Well, I mean, it's difficult to be really customer centric if you're not listening to what's going on, if you're not asking them the questions. Sometimes you're going to get answers that you don't want to hear. It's going to be difficult to hear some stuff, but basically it needs to happen, and that also helps you grow. But of course, if it's good, it's easy to take that feedback. It just reinforces that whatever's happening is good. But then if it's bad, you have to find out, like, what can we learn from this? How can we improve this? Is it relevant to improve this? And for us here at Turing, like, we do several ways of gathering feedback, but the immediate way, we have feedback forms that we share, but it's a bit different because we try and share those while we're talking to the client, have them while they're on the call, have them fill them out, provide us with the information about what worked, what didn't work, so we can build off of that. And then after that, there's sometimes just an email asking how's it going, or a call just checking in to see how's it going, what's happening with the engagement or whatever. And then that gets the ball rolling. But it's important, just once you do hear anything, to document the information, and then if there's something relevant there, to kind of build off of that, kind of iterate and change things if they need to be changed. So that's how it works here.
Yeah, 100%. I would say that effective listening is definitely a key point here, and consistency. You probably agree with me, like doing that regularly and making sure that if you spot key pain points, you take action, you solve, and you are able to like see the improvements over time, either quarter over quarter or month over month. So that consistency, that regularity on collecting that feedback, I would say that it's another very important part.
Yeah. Of course, definitely. I mean, with anything that happens, if you're not consistent, and if you're trying for like the first week or two, and then afterwards everything drops off, it makes no sense, and everybody knows that it was just like a one-time effort and it's not there long term. So you have to be consistent.
Yep. And we were like, I wanted to build a little bridge between this topic we're discussing now and what we were talking before about remote work and distributed teams. Any additional thoughts that you would have on like having this feedback process and talking about talking with customers, collecting feedback in this remote work setting, in this global distributed work setting? Like, are there any specific challenges or perks involved in that, specifically in this remote work setting, right?
Yeah, so I mean, if we're talking just about remote work, I would say that a lot of it is just people sticking to the old ways of things and saying this is how we've always done it and it's not possible to do it differently. So from my perspective, remote work is not that challenging. Like, once you get all of your, like, let's say, ducks in a row, and you set up the processes, you have the expectations for everybody, let's say on the team, you have expectations, and again, consistency comes in here. So if you don't deviate too much, so like, I'm setting a goal today, but tomorrow I come in and say something completely opposite, that's gonna mess it up. But if you're consistent and you have everything in place, that's it. You have a clear understanding of what needs to be done. You have an understanding of how you measure success, and it doesn't really matter where you are or when you do it, except of course for some time sensitive things. But basically, all of it is just clear communication and doing the stuff you said you're going to do. So if you agree on something and I'm expecting you to do something, if that happens, we're good. If not, it kind of trickles down. So you do not do something, I don't do it, then somebody else in the line doesn't do it, and then it all falls apart. But if that's working and if we trust each other, that's it. I mean, like, however you spin this, like from the false claim that productivity is low when you're at home to the amazing office culture where they show you a gray cubicle with a monitor, like, I don't feel that we're going to go back to the office anytime soon. And one thing that I'm really hoping for is that somebody's going to understand that, like, the 40-hour work week was something that worked while you were standing at an assembly line and doing stuff. But if you're doing anything that's different than that, it's not that good. So maybe we'll in the future this will be a relic of the old times. So yeah, definitely like a lot of trust and understanding that we're all one of the things is like we're all adults and we all understand that there are stuff that we need to do and we're going to do it. And if you're not doing it, then there's another issue that's causing it. So it's not going to be remote work. I can just not do
Exactly.
stuff in an office too.
Exactly.
So
Those things would happen in an office most likely. I do think there are specific communication strategies or a specific, like, there should be a little bit more of attention dedicated to communication skills overall in the remote work setting. Like, we have to over communicate, we have to make sure that we double check things because
yeah.
we are not sharing the same time and space. But I think that's honestly an easy thing, and I agree with you that as adults and people who have like all of our background, qualification, and professional experience, it should not be a challenge. On the other way around, it should never be like something that is heavy or hard. It should be something very organic and natural. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then, Ivan, just like me, you manage a team, right? And your team is like actually one of the largest in our segment of the company. So just to wrap this awesome chat we're having here, I wanted to talk a little bit about leadership and what is your vision as a leader? Like, what are your, I don't know, key points in terms of your leadership style and your management style?
So, I mean, for me, and as it kind of goes with, I told you, like, for my next role, I just wanted it to be remote. I didn't think about anything else. I was like, I'm going to fit in, I'm going to use my skills, but I want to work that way. So, kind of having this notion of building a truly boundaryless remote world with Turing and through everything we do, that's like kind of at the core. Like, if you have the question, so if you're a developer, if you're a company, like if you ask yourself, should I go remote? My goal is like that I can tell you, yeah, you should go, regardless if you're like a Fortune 500 company, a developer that's looking for an opportunity, or somebody that's working with me here at Turing. I want you to just say yes to going remote because that's it. That's like, it's not going to be a question anymore really soon. So that's like at the core of kind of what drives me to do this. And you mentioned like the management style and everything else. I kind of rely heavily on the fact that I just said, like, we're adults. If we have like clear communication, if we set everything up, if we know what's needed to succeed, I don't feel that I need to, like, one of the things that I hated before, and I don't think that anybody enjoys that, is micromanagement. So I don't need to ask you 5 times during the day, have you done something? I don't need to check if you've done it. I can just expect, and it has been happening all the time now. I can just go next day and just check, and yeah, it's done. I can go on and I can do my job, and that's it. So that's at the core of it, is just not kind of giving people the freedom to do their best work.
Agree, really agree. I really myself also like don't appreciate micromanagement and think it's not the best way to develop your management skills. I think as
Yeah.
more specifically in the remote work setting, which is what we're talking about here, like if you don't have lots of trust and autonomy, and if you don't like give people a full accountability and again trust, it chances are it will not succeed because you will never be able to share exactly the same time and space of the other person if you need to trust,
Yeah.
or else it's just going to be like this weird thing. I couldn't agree more. Okay, so Ivan, you already shared some awesome tips and pieces of advice. Just to close here on a closing note, any additional tips, like maybe customers out there or professionals out there listening to us?
Well, I mean, it's funny for me to like speak from that standpoint, but still, like, there's always one thing, like the main guideline in what I'm doing is like, I am the customer. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if whatever my role is, but if I'm doing something that's related to customer success, I try to put myself in the client's shoes just to kind of understand what they're going through, what they want to do. And like, if this is a point where I feel frustrated, that's what somebody's feeling on the other side, and I need to fix that. So that will be like the simplest way to do it. Like, nobody, and it's again, it comes from because I have a lot of like tech support and that all that difficult difficult client experiences. like nobody likes to be put on hold. Nobody likes to wait. Everybody wants immediate answers. And if you don't have that, they want to be like not talked down to, but given like information that you can give them. So like is the simplest way is just putting yourself in those shoes, and then you can take it from there. You're not going to make a mistake.
That's amazing. Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
Goes back to the empathetic approach we were talking about at the very, very beginning of our chat today.
Yeah.
Awesome. Had a blast. Thank you so much, Yvonne. I really enjoyed our conversation. It was really, really awesome. Thanks for joining me on this Tuesday, busy Tuesday, right?
Yeah, always.
It was a pleasure. And then everyone listening to us, stay tuned for the next Boundaryless series here at our Turing YouTube channel and other medias. And that's it. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Go to Turing.com and sign up today. Don't even think twice.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for having me. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.